Okay, hi everyone. Ina's taking a little nap, so I thought that I would take a moment to talk to you about the Dreaming of the Caribbean socks and how your Sockalong is going. I did finally make it all the way through the foot of my sock. So here's the lovely foot of my sock, and I've just finished my heel. And I actually like to use this, it's called a sock ruler, to measure my socks because you can just very easily stick your sock onto your ruler. And I am pulling that toe down just a little bit. Those slip stitches haven't relaxed much yet, so I wanted to be sure that I pulled them just a little bit down into place. When I measured the back before I started my heel, then it was at my 7 inches, just where I wanted to be. I really love this sock ruler. I think it's great for toe-up socks as well as top-down socks. And if you want, you could mark everybody's sock measurements on the back of your ruler, but I have just always used it as is. I have a thing for not really liking to mark up my patterns or my tools. So just a little comment about that. Once you have your sock to the point where you're ready to do that heel, then you're going to do a short row heel. And because I had a few more stitches than what it called for in my cast on, I chose to make that section of my heel just a little bit wider, 10 stitches wider. So if you think about it, this is the portion of the sock that's going to cup your heel. So if you have a narrower heel, then you need a deeper cup. And if you have a wider heel, then you need less of a cup. So if you're trying to adjust this sock to fit it to your foot specifically, what you can do if you know that you have a wider heel is you can work fewer of those wrap and turns, and that will give you a shallower cup so that it sits around a wider heel. So that is one of the ways that you can take a short row heel and adjust it a little bit to how you need the sock to fit your heel. So let me reiterate that. If you work it so that there are 8 stitches left, as I've recommended, then it's going to have a deeper heel cup for a narrower heel. If you work fewer of those stitches, it will have a wider heel cup for a wider heel. So if you worked 10 or 12 or until there were only 14 stitches, then it would widen that. So it'll be a shallower cupping on that heel. So anyway, I chose to work mine just a little bit differently, simply because I had cast on with fewer stitches. And I wanted to show you what I do once I get across here. So now that I have finished my heel and I've gone ahead and turned my heel, and I made sure that as I was picking up and knitting those wraps together, that I was always doing a knit 3 together or a purl 3 together from that front loop, and that I was pulling that tight so that it closed up the gap and I didn't have any holes. I think you can see that there's no holes along that edge, but when we return to working in the round, you could potentially have holes right here at these points, and I want to show you how to go ahead and fix that. So I need to establish my pattern, which is my knit 1 slip 1 patterning, all the way across my heel again. So this will become the back of that leg as we move up the sock. So I'm just knitting 1, slipping 1 all the way across right now. And remember, we are slipping 1 purlwise. You should be quite comfortable with that by now. So once I get over to this side where I have a bit of a gap, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pick up a couple of stitches and then immediately decrease them away, because I don't want these stitches to be a permanent part of my sock. I'm not trying to add stitches to my sock, although if you needed to add stitches to make your leg a little bit wider, that would be a great time to do it. So here I am, and I have this gap in between my heel, which is the back of my leg, and my foot, which is the front of my leg. And I can kind of see that there's a stitch here that would be easy to pick up, and there's a stitch here that would be easy to pick up. And I'm just going to grab both of those and knit them together. And then I'm going to pass that stitch back over to my left hand needle, and I'm going to go ahead and knit both of those together again, and then resume my pattern. And I'm going to do that knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one all the way across, because we do have to reestablish our pattern. So once that happens, I'm going to do something similar over in the other gap that is formed by this short row heel. And you can actually do this with most heels. You can just add a couple of extra stitches in the corner and then decrease them away. There's nothing that says you can't do that, and I find it to be a really good way to make sure that I don't have holes at the corners of my socks where the heels come back together with the leg or the foot, as the case may be. So here I am, I'm back around, and I'm in my gap. So here's my gap again, and it's a pretty big gap. If I just went ahead and started knitting here, I would definitely have a hole. So I want to make sure that I pick up a couple of stitches, and all I'm going to do is just kind of go in, and I can see that because I have all these slip stitches along this edge, this is going to be a little trickier. So I'm actually going to go in and pick up, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 stitches below where I want to be. And then I am going to make a fake stitch, but I'm going to make sure that I am twisting my fake stitch, and I'm going to carry a little bit of yarn from 2 rows below and then 1 row below up and make this little faked stitch. And I made sure again that I twisted the base of that stitch so that it acts like a knit one together through the back loop. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab 1 more stitch in here, and I'm going to knit those together, then pass it back over and knit them together again. All right, and then go ahead and I resume my pattern, which is just that I knit every stitch. And what that's going to do is it's going to close those gaps that you would have at the corners of your heel. So again, all I did was I just increased by picking up a couple of stitches, and then I decreased them away, so that I made sure I was back to my original stitch count. You can, of course, carry 1 extra stitch along and get rid of it on the next round. You just have to mark it somehow. I recommend a locking stitch marker if that's your plan, because you want to make sure that you are back on track with your patterning and you don't have extra stitches that are just sort of hanging around. So anyway, I will keep working on my sock, and hopefully I'll have a little better luck getting through the leg so that I can get to that cuff, and we can talk about the leg and the cuff portion for our Sockalong. I hope that you have had fun as you have played with your sock pieces. If you've made it past the heel, you are really on your way to having a sock. You are definitely in the home stretch. This is the easy part now of making your sock, which for me, because I usually do top-down socks, I usually think of that as the foot. But anyway, here's my little sock in the round. It's coming along. I really miss having my double-pointed needles. I am really struggling with my extra long cord here on my fixed ones doing magic loop. But I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to try to keep Ina from stealing my yarn anymore because she keeps pulling my ball apart. Anyway, I love my sock ruler, so if you don't have one of these, you should see if you can pick one of these up. Heather, I don't know if you stock these, but if you have people who like to make socks, I really love these. And they do come in a kid's size as well, which is just a little narrower, shorter one so that it's easier to take measurements. Remember to pick up a copy of the pattern if you haven't already so that you can join us for our sock along. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch all of the videos. I've been adding a lot of videos to my channel and there will be some free instruction there. I am going to keep adding videos as often as I can for the foreseeable future anyway, so that I can spread my knowledge. And if you happen to be in the Missouri area, I am teaching at the Ozark Fiber Fling in November. So you can look me up there. I'm doing a class on what I call Portunental knitting, which is a combination of Portuguese and continental for color work. So anyway, don't forget to subscribe. Keep working on your socks. If you have questions, be sure to ask them either in the comments on the video, on my Facebook page, or in that Pearly Shell online sock along. So I will see you hopefully next time with a leg on my sock.